Good afternoon. A beautiful, beautiful afternoon to you this Sunday. My name is Isabella Akinsheye. I'm a proud member of the SWORTE Talks team, and I can already see some of our members here today. I can see our founder, Dr. Ogunsoya. Welcome. I can see Catherine Bickersteth. I can see Give Food NG. We can see Bernard, Helen. Thank you so much for tuning in and deciding to spend the next 1 hour with us here at SWORTE Talks. And guess what? This is our first ever Instagram live session. Yay! I think that calls for some applause, and I know you can't applaud, I can't hear you, but you can wave, you can send some love up, you can share an emoticon and let us know that you're happy to be here. I can see Falawe Omikunle, also a member of our SWORTE Talks team. Thanks for the emoticons. Now, for those of you that just finding out about SWORTE Talks, well, where have you been? We're turning 5 in September. 5 years. And you might be wondering, what does SWORTE Talks mean? Well, SWORTE stands for Stories Worth Telling. We believe in the importance, the impact, the potential of stories. And what we want to do is we want to inform, inspire, and influence you through the words of our speakers. We like to call them storytellers. And we have 3 storytellers today. They will be sharing with us. We're going to get started very shortly. Just want a few more people to join in. Thank you so much for everyone coming in. Today, we're presenting to you ambassadors of impact. And you might be wondering, why are we doing this? Well, next week, Sunday, we're going to have our first ever online version of SWORTE Talks. Now, in the past 5 years, we'll come together, we'll have our storytellers, we'll share, we'll learn, we'll have performances. But now COVID-19 has happened, there's a pandemic, and there's restriction of movement, of gatherings. So we decided, you know what, we're not just going to sit down and look, we're going to use the tools that technology has provided us to still make sure that we're able to tell stories. And at this point where things look so uncertain and people are not sure, we know that hope is something that we really need to share. We need to keep hope alive. We need people to know that we will get through this pandemic. This is not the first pandemic to happen in modern times, so we will get through it, but we need to have hope. And we're really encouraged by a lot of people that are doing great things in their communities and providing hope and impacting positively. And that's why we decided to have 3 storytellers join us today. I can already see one of our storytellers here. I can see the second here. And we're going to be starting in the next 2 minutes. So I'll just tell you about the storytellers that we're going to have. Our first storyteller is Mr. Kola Masha. He's the managing director of Babangona, as well as the MD of GiveFood.ng. And I can already see GiveFood.ng say, look forward to participating, Kola Masha. Yes, in the next 1.5 minutes or so. Right after his session, we'll have Mrs. Indidi Wuneli. She's the managing partner, Sahel Consulting Agriculture and Nutrition Limited. She will be coming up, and then we'll finish it off with Ms. Mojisola Adegbile, CEO of Tolloway, and they will all be sharing how they're using their initiatives to provide hope as well as impact their communities for good. So at exactly 4:05, I'll be bringing in my first guest. So we have about 1 minute, but what I would like you to do is that let's make this interactive. It's not only me that will be asking the questions. Yes, I do have questions prepared, but I'd love for you to engage. But please listen, because there's a likelihood that maybe a question you might have might be answered before you ask. So please, let's listen. If you need to bring out a pen, a piece of paper, a jotter, tablet to take notes, because it's definitely going to be an insightful session. So Please let's have our questions ready. Each session is 15 minutes. I'll start off with the first 10 minutes asking questions, and then I'll open it up to the floor, and then you can ask your questions, you can engage, you can make comments, and let's just make sure we stay on topic, which has to do with ambassadors of impact. So I think it's exactly 4:05, and at this point I will be going live with givefood.ng. Let's see, givefood.ng. I need to go live with givefood.ng. I'm just going to get them. If givefood.ng, you can just leave a comment in the comment section so I can go live with you. Let's see. Go live with GiveFood. Oh, it says unable to join. Givefood.ng. Please just make a request in the comment section. Request to be in this live video. It's 4:05 p.m. So the clock is ticking and we want to hear from you. So please, I can see our third speaker join, Mrs. Indidi Wuneli. Session will be coming up right after this session. Thank you so much, every one of you, for being here. I'm going to try again to go live with GiveFood.ng. GiveFood.ng, please, let's see if we can go live. Can you just leave a comment in the comment section, and then I will go live with you. Technology. Okay. GiveFood.ng, please can you just leave a message in the comment section, and that way I'll be able to go live. I've tried, but for some reason it says unable to join. I'm not sure where the issue is. I'll keep checking and look forward to this comment. Like I said, for those of us just joining, today is hearing from our storytellers who have been making impact in one way or the other, who have not let the whole despair and uncertainty of COVID-19 get in their way of showing acts of kindness, acts of giving, acts of love to the people around them, and coming together as a nation. And that's what the purpose of this is. It says, we'll check on my end and we'll let you know when fixed. Thank you so much. If you can I can see that you can make a comment. So if you can just request for me, request so that you can join the live video, that would be great. I'm going to check again. It's still saying, so please just okay. We still have our two speakers here. And like I said before, the purpose of this is really as a precursor, a taster, an appetizer to what's coming up next week, Sunday, which is our first ever SWORTE Talks online edition. And there will be learning from our storytellers on how they've been able to spread the message of hope against all odds during this pandemic. I think we might be able to solve this now. Says unable to join. I would have said let me move this, but I know that Mr. Masha actually has an appointment for 4:30 p.m. If it's okay, Mr. Masha, while we're trying to fix this, if it's okay for me to go to the next speaker, given that she's already here, and if she doesn't mind, just let me know if that's okay in the comment section, and just if I can have a feedback on why you're unable to join this through the GiveFood.ng Instagram page. So I'll be looking forward to your feedback. But just a bit about givefood.ng. When I went through their communication materials, I found out that with as little as 2,000 naira, you can actually feed people in a community of your choice. And sometimes you say, well, I don't have so much money. Like, what will 2,000 naira do? 2,000 naira might seem like small money for a recharge card or small money for a bit of data, but 2,000 naira can be the deciding factor of life and death for families whose incomes have been affected by this pandemic. and they need food. Like if you go to school, they'll teach you that there are 3 human essential needs. You have food, shelter, and clothing, and we need food to be alive. And right now, people are using their money, partnering with organizations like GiveFood.ng. They've partnered with a number of organizations in the private sector to be able to provide that essential commodity of food to people in different communities. And it's something that we can all take part in. I know you can get more information on their Instagram handle. I'm going to check again if we're able to go live. Yes, we can. GiveFood.ng. Woohoo! So as we're about to go live with Mr. Kola Masha, I'd love for you to make him feel very welcome. He is the managing director of Babangona and GiveFood.ng. And that's Mr. Kola Masha.
Welcome. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. How are you doing?
Glad to have you here.
Pleasure to be here.
So let's go into it. I mean, food is an essential need. Without food, there's no life. What made you commit to such an important cause at this time?
Well, I think, well, first of all, thank you so much for having me on. Greatly appreciate it. So I think at the end of the day, the unfortunate reality is that the economic fallout of coronavirus will likely last a little while. And the reality is that there are many people in our society that will struggle to make it through these very difficult times. And so what we did as Babangona was basically leverage our expertise in technology. Today we are Nigeria's single largest maize producing entity. Most people think of us as a agricultural company or a financing company, but reality is we're a technology company. And so we're able to rapidly deploy our expertise in logistics technology, where we move over 100,000 metric tons of fertilizer, maize, seed, so on and so forth a year. And within 72 hours, our team was able to deploy that technology now towards getting food to the bottom of the pyramid during these difficult times. And so with GiveFood.ng, our simple goal is we've built a wonderful coalition of partners. Today, some of the country's largest food companies, over 150 supermarkets, and many, many other partners. That basically creates an infrastructure that allows us to move about 1 million meals every week. And our key focus is now to enable 1 million Nigerians the opportunity to support someone in their community with as little as 5,000 naira over the next several months, which will enable the platform to provide about 50 million meals to those most in need.
Wow, 50 million. I'm not sure why this is recording. The questions short so that you're able to respond. What has the response been like since you've launched? I know you mentioned that you've been able to get a lot of partners, but how communities is food aid?
Oh, definitely. I think we've launched now just a little over 2 weeks ago. In our first 24 hours, we were able to do about 10,000 meals in our first 24 hours. We've done well over 100,000 meals to date. We launched in Kano this week. I think we prioritized Kano particularly because of the challenges that they are particularly feeling at this time. And with just an incredible group of volunteers that we brought on board, we were able to do about 10,000 meals in our first 24 hours in Kano as well. And so we will just be steadily rolling out to new markets over the next several weeks.
Wow, that's amazing. I know someone said earphones, but press for time. So right after I try to get a pair of earphones. That's an amazing positive respect that you receive. In terms of people getting involved, how can they put that 2,000 naira? Because sometimes people are not sure about giving online courses.
No, it's a very fair point, and I think maybe I'll explain how GiveFood.ng works. So what GiveFood.ng is really focused on is really enabling that individual that wants to support people in need in their community, a safe and efficient way for them to do that from their home, with the safety and security that they know that 100% of what they give actually will reach a person in need in a community that they care about. And then in addition, we also provide on the platform as well, individuals that actually want to give support to people that they know, a way to do that better than cash. Right. So today, going on to givefood.ng, the benefits that you get is you have zero transaction costs. So the traditional financial cost that you would have in sending cash to someone and then withdrawing that cash and going to use that is gone, because the system that we've set up is able to absorb all of those costs, and every kobo that goes on the platform is able to come out as food. Second, with our many partners, we actually have the opportunity for you to help you give more. So for every 10,000 naira that you donate on givefood.ng, we give you a 20% bonus on top of that to enable you to donate 20% more than what you're originally planning to. So you can actually leverage your resources up even further. And then finally, because of the just incredible support of our many partners, particularly our supermarket partners that we work with, the food packs that you actually go and pick up, even though we pay the supermarkets about 2,000 naira for that, and they actually put in that oftentimes as much as 10% more than that. So you're paying for something that's 2,000 naira, but the person's actually receiving goods valued at 2,200 naira. So there's a significant incentive on top of it. And maybe if I can briefly just kind of walk through how the experience in GiveFood works. So we've made it exceptionally simple. So you as an individual can go on givefood.ng today. You can transfer, let's say for easy math, 10,000 naira onto the platform. That will get converted into 5 food packs. And each food pack is designed to provide 1 week of food for one person, and includes products like Swallow, sugar, tomato paste, pasta, instant noodles, and a bar of soap. And so, and then you can now easily transfer those 5 food packs that are sitting in your shopping cart to a person in need, either directly by simply putting in the phone number of the person you want to support, and they will receive an SMS with a simple 5-digit code, and they can walk into any of the over 150 shops, stores, supermarkets that we have on the platform today and redeem that code for those food packs. Or you have the choice of selecting a specific community that you want to support. So imagine you're, let's say, in the Lekki axis, and you want to support the community around the first roundabout. Well, you would simply select the HubMart supermarket at first roundabout, and a trusted volunteer in that area would then receive your donation and be able to get that into the hands of someone in need. Let's say you want to support people in Jakonde. You'd simply select the ShopRite and Circle Mall, and once again, the same process would work. So it allows you to have very hyper-local giving. And then finally, you have the opportunity to actually just give directly to some of these amazing volunteer organizations that are on the site today, that have been working tirelessly to support people in need.
Wow, this is amazing.
Wow, this is amazing.
There's no device that's
There's no
on
device
here.
that's on here. Someone has said in the comment section maybe the volume, but I'm not sure why this echo keeps coming.
We'll try the different
We'll try the different
But one of the things that
one of the things that stood out to me is that you empower the giver
the way
to give the way they want to give,
they want to
the
give,
person they want to
and
give,
there's so much
and
transparency,
there's so much transparency knowing that this amount of money provides feeding and even so that's an essential for 1 week.
I'm sure
Exactly.
I'm sure at this
point we have some questions.
and I just wanted to read some of the feedback that we've seen. This is from Dr. Ogunsoya saying, good to know we can upgrade such an efficient system in Nigeria.
Dr. Adeyemi
says
awesome organization. Mrs. Fowler Amber says the power of community.
Falawa Mikule says brilliant.
So looks like quite a number of people
have heard about this platform, and they're really impressed with the work it is. So if you have questions, please drop them in.
I know it's echoing.
I know it's echoing at
this time. The volume is down.
But thanks for the comments.
Can we have questions?
In the comment section? Real apology for the
I hope you can still hear me,
Mr. Masha.
Perfectly.
Great. It's coming out of the speaker
and going back into the mic. Some phones have both next.
Thank you very much.
I'll see what the issues.
Laptop. Maybe that's better.
Maybe that's better.
Okay, so
I am
Much better, much better.
Can the
Can
donations
the
be made
donations
to
be made to
non-specific
non-specific
individuals just
individuals just
generically? And
generically?
Dr.
And Dr.
Adeyemi Agbelusi
Adeyemi
says, what
Agbelusi says,
parts of the
what parts
southwest
of the
Nigeria
southwest
does
Nigeria does
Babangona reach?
Babangona reach?
Sure. So yes. So you basically have 4 ways to give, and I should note that one of the key things that we've done to help build transparency into the system with Give Food is we have a tier 1 international audit firm that is actually on board as a coalition partner that will be auditing all the financial flows. In addition to that, the applications that we built actually allows traceability all the way down to the individual who goes and collects the product at the stores by allowing us to capture a picture of that individual to ensure that we have full traceability end to end. Now, just to clarify on the question, there are 4 ways to give on Give Food. One is you can give to any family in need. You simply just either give directly to the bank account or transfer, or you can just select to just give directly to any family, and that will go through a network of trusted volunteers. And today we have over 100 of these trusted volunteers on the site that we have a dedicated team that just goes out and vets these individuals and does preliminary due diligence to bring them on board. 2, you can give to a specific family in need, so somebody you know that you want to support. And by simply putting in their phone number, and they will receive the token directly. 3, you can give to a specific community by selecting the supermarket or shop that is in that community. So as I mentioned, we have over 150 on track to hit 200 very shortly. And these are stores of all sizes. The big stores that you know, that we all know, ShopRite, Spar, so on and so forth, all the way down to mom and pop provision stores. We have dozens of mom and pop provision stores that are in specific communities that we know, and we're onboarding, I think in the last couple of days, we've onboarded at least 10 every day. And and we're continuing to build up that network. And 4th, you can select a specific volunteer organization that you want to support that you know is on Give Food by simply putting in their username, and your donation will go directly to them for them to give, to help to amplify their work.
I think that answers some of the questions that I've seen here. Someone also asked, does this initiative extend all over Nigeria? And in what capacity can people volunteer?
Sure. So today we are statewide in Lagos State. So we started in Lagos, and we've covered, I think we're covering probably easily over 95% of the population in Lagos State. We have actually already started our expansion efforts in multiple other states, but we're building up a volunteer network in those states. So those states include Rivers State, Abuja, Ogun, Oyo, so on and so forth. We did prioritize, because of the challenges that we've seen in Kano, launching in Kano, and so we have launched now fully in Kano State as well, and we will be rolling out across the entire country. So please check on givefood.ng regularly, and you'll be able to see our locations and see which states and which cities we are operating in.
Thank you. I think that.
But I think I saw someone ask a question about whether we were in Alimosho, and I can assure you we are in Alimosho. We're operating out of pretty much every Just Right, Grocery Bazaar, Adi Day, those supermarkets, as well as we have the Heineken 234 provision stores. We're in, I think, over 20 of those across Lagos already. So we are in many of these communities that are in desperate need, and we have lots of volunteers operating in those communities today already.
And the final question
is,
how can people volunteer?
Yes, so simply go to givefood.ng. You can, in the menu, you can, on the homepage, you click join the coalition and select volunteer, fill out your details, and our dedicated team will get back to you very shortly on onboarding you onto the platform.
Thank you very much, Mr. Masha,
for sharing.
And going by the feedback that I've seen here, a lot of people are definitely impressed with the transparency, with the ease, and with the commitment
and
of
with the commitment of
givefood.ng. Thank you
givefood.ng.
so much,
Thank you so
and
much,
we'll be
and
moving
we'll
to
be
our
moving
next
to our
speaker.
next
And
speaker.
hopefully this
And
echo will
hopefully
go.
this
I'll try
echo will
something
go. I'll try something
different. Thank you very much,
different.
sir.
Thank you very much, sir.
Pleasure. Thank you. Take care now.
All right then.
All right then.
So thank you so much, Mr. Masha. You can find out more information about givefood.ng. And I'm going to move now to our next speaker, Mrs. Indidi Woneli. She's the managing partner, Sahel Consulting Agriculture and Nutrition Limited. You might be aware of Ace Foods. I have several of them. I still went to the supermarket to get some. So in case you're not sure what Sahel Consulting Agriculture and Nutrition Limited does. Please let's make welcome Mrs. Indidi Woneli. Before I bring her in, I want to see all the hearts going up. Please let's make her feel welcome. Let's show her some love. Thank you very much. You've been a great audience so far. So I'm going to add her right now to this Instagram live session. And fingers crossed, there won't be any echo. We know we have less than about 45 minutes to go. Hello, Ma. Welcome to
Hi, how are you? Great to connect.
I'm fine. So, one of the things that Mr. Masha said was leveraging technology and innovation. And I know you're very big on technology and innovation. So, how have you been able to leverage these two things to create lasting impact during this pandemic?
Okay, so I wear a number of hats, and I'll just describe what each of the organizations is doing at this time to feed people, but also to ensure that we strengthen our food ecosystems. The first one is Ace Foods, you mentioned. Thank you for being a customer. So we have an agro-processing company that I'm a co-founder of, and it's based in Sangota in Ogun State. So from the first day this pandemic started, we recognized that so many families would be affected by this challenge. And so we started donating to the food drives. I actually wrote an article early in March that said, how can we ensure that hunger doesn't kill more people in Nigeria than COVID? And alerted faith-based organizations. I sent it to every pastor and every commissioner I knew saying, guys, we can't just be focusing on how many ventilators we have or how many hospital beds we have. We have to talk about food. And many people weren't thinking about food at the time. And then we got into gear. As Ace Foods, we started donating to causes. So we donated to God Bless Nigeria, Dream from the Slum, Lagos Food Bank, Lagos State's Food Drive, Ogun State's Food Drive, ACT Foundation, every single organization. And then we said, more people approached us to say, we want to help you feed more people. So Ace Foods actually started a drive saying, okay, if you want to help us feed people, you can give funding to Ace Foods, and we're still doing that. And then through that, we can feed more people. So our goal is to feed 50,000 families with our soya, maize, and spices. And we have a GoFundMe page as well as donation drive. And through that, we've been able to feed families in Enugu, Ogun State, Lagos State, and Plateau State. And we've leveraged technology, obviously connecting with funders, but also connecting with nonprofits. So a lot of nonprofits have reached out to us, and we have to vet them. They have to send us pictures. We engage with them and continue to partner with them. So that's through Ace Foods. Through Sahel Consulting and Nourishing Africa, two separate initiatives, we've been supporting SMEs who are affected by this. Now, there's so many agriculture SMEs across Africa. Half of them have had to shut down because they can't get customers, they don't have digital technology, they don't have access to their raw materials, their farmers are struggling to get to the farm. So what we've been doing is training them, supporting them, mentoring them, coaching them. We've started a new initiative called Ask an Expert, where you can go on nourishingafrica.com and get one-on-one help from experts to think about how to restart your business and think about your business model. Because we realize that food security is critical for this COVID response. Food is medicine. And in every African country, if you're not thinking about what these food businesses, how they're going to survive, how they can pivot, then you're going to lose a whole bunch of very credible organizations that need to provide jobs, but also need to feed us. So if you go on nourishingafrica.com, you'll see access to a lot of funding for entrepreneurs in food and agriculture, as well as mentoring, support, and training. And then through Sahel, we continue to work in dairy, especially at teams, through the Advancing Local Dairy Development Project in Plateau, Jigawa, Kaduna, and Kano are still working every single day, ensuring that we can source milk from our nomadic communities and process milk and yogurt for the country. So we've been very, very busy wearing a number of hats, supporting a number of initiatives, but also ensuring that we think about the long term. You know, you can think about short-term interventions, feeding people, but at the end of the day, we need vibrant food ecosystems. What has bothered me is that India can say, you know, for the next 6 months, we have food. America can say for the next 2 years, we have food. But many Nigerian states are struggling. We don't know how much we have in our grain reserves. We don't know how many months of food we actually have in this country. Especially in our urban communities, we don't have a clear sense of supply and demand of food. So one of the things I've been trying to do is work with government to really say, what can we learn from this? And how can we make sure that we have the systems and structures, we know where the supply and demand is, we know where the vulnerable populations are, and how to serve them well. And so that fundamental foundation is critical, and that's what I've been spending a lot of my time thinking through.
Wow, I love the approach to it. There's the immediate approach to giving people who need food, but there's also the business part. And a lot of times people just don't think about the business implications of a shutdown or restriction of movement. What has been the response like? I'm interested to know for some of the entrepreneurs, because I know there might be some agribusiness owners here and they're just thinking, wow, I wish I'd heard about this earlier on. What can I do?
Well, the response has been very positive. I think many entrepreneurs realize that this is a time to pivot. Business as usual in this economy is not going to work. Nigeria is being hit by triple issues, not just the pandemic, but the oil shocks, the massive devaluation in our currency. And we've also been hit by the reduction in remittances globally because all our relatives abroad are suffering. So it's not that, you know, the money that used to come in from relatives every month to keep many of our families going has dried up. And so we have faced, and then couple that with massive unemployment and people who are forlorn and people who have simply lost their jobs or had to take pay cuts. So the purchasing power in our country is very, very low. So it doesn't matter what sector you are in, you're going to be hurting. So the challenge is, how do you pivot? How do you change your business model, leveraging innovation and technology to ensure that you can serve people? I mean, my sisters in the education sector know this. They've had to pivot their businesses. Those in events and training, those who have restaurants, those who offer any type of service have had to pivot. And so the same in food and ag. We can't sell expensive food. Nigerians cannot afford expensive food at this time. Nigerians need nutritious food that's affordable, that they can store without electricity. And so we're going to have to innovate what we offer to our people. And we have to make sure it's nutritious. But from that perspective, I think entrepreneurs have been very, very willing to learn and listen. And we're going to be offering funding and grant funding to those in agriculture very soon. So watch this space. We've also been doing a lot of online training to get them ready. But in terms of policymakers, what we're seeing is that they're very focused on immediate response and they're not thinking medium and long term. And all my international boards have said this is a 12 to 18-month journey. We're not going to wake up tomorrow and COVID would have disappeared. We're going to have to learn to live with these realities for the next 12 to 18 months until a vaccine is found or a medicine is found. And unfortunately, this is the new normal for the medium term. And so I would challenge all the policymakers to think through what it will take for you to continue to feed people in the long term. How can we reduce the cost of food? How can we share data? You know, Kola, I applaud the work he's doing and so many of the other organizations. But what we are struggling with is where are the most vulnerable people? How do we know that the relief organizations are going to the people who need it the most? What are we doing with INEC data, BVN data, data from telcos to show where our poorest of the poor are? And how can we leverage that data more effectively? And the second thing is, how can we collaborate? We need so many more organizations working together, private companies, nonprofits, working together so that we can achieve more instead of working in silos. And so that's one of the reasons ACE Foods and Sahel have decided to support existing initiatives and strengthen them so that we can achieve much more together. So that's really, in a nutshell, the responses we're hearing.
Wow, I think if anything that this pandemic has shown, you talked about data and the lack of it and how we don't know how much food we're producing. And perhaps now the government can pay more attention to developing the agriculture sector. Like you said, COVID-19 might not kill as many people as the hunger virus will, because people just don't have enough food, especially people in the urban areas that rely on the rural areas, and there are restrictions of movement. So we really hope that this steps you're taking in showing a bigger picture will be received positively by our policymakers, by our government, that green in our flag will really represent agriculture. So at this point, I'm going to open up the floor for questions. I can see so many hearts going up, a lot of comments. They're also saying, Dr. Gunsaya says, amazing combination of production and giving to the vulnerable, so needful. We also had a comment here from Kenneth Obayuwana. Truma, food security is critical. Food is very essential. So we've seen more people join. Thank you very much for joining SWORT Talks today. We're hearing from our storytellers, ambassadors of impact. So please, let's have our questions come in. You know, we have less than 30 minutes to go, and we still have yet another storyteller. But while we're waiting for some of the questions, I will just go to my last question, which is showing us as individuals, like, what can we do if we point the fingers to ourselves and say, we've heard what you're doing, all these amazing organizations are doing, but what can I do as an individual? How can I impact my community for good?
Well, there are at least 4 things you can do as an individual. The first one is that you can change mindsets around you about what is going on in our society. I think all of us have a sphere of influence, and even if you don't have a kobo, you have a voice. Write, speak, engage. I still think a large number of Nigerians do not really believe COVID is real and can affect them. And so we're seeing a lot of violations of some of the mandates that the government has set. And if we don't take this seriously, we're going to have a bigger problem on our hands. And we've seen what has happened in many countries that ignore this reality of this pandemic. I've already lost one very close friend to COVID, and she was only 45 years old with 3 children. So I know that this is real. Now, the second thing is that all of us can support a cause. There's so many nonprofits, so many credible organizations in Nigeria. And if you have anything to offer, you can support a cause. You can volunteer, you can take phone calls, you can help them measure impact, you can help them amplify their voice, you can give cash to these organizations. And you can support organizations close to where you live. Because I don't think all of us should start a new initiative. I see people saying, oh, I want to feed people on my street. And I'm like, there are people who can feed those people much cheaper than you can. Why aren't you partnering with them? So I believe it's really imperative that you look and say, which organizations? And I love what, I'll give you an example of a very good website that Debola and Red Media have started called beatingcorona.ng. Please visit beatingcorona.ng. Click on your state. And on that state, it will show you all the nonprofits that are working in that state and in that city. And if you even want to zero in closer to home, you can upload the ones that you know about. Beatingcorona.ng is just one example of a group that's saying, let's show people what others are doing so they can get involved. And then the third piece is really around changing your business model. I think for us, a lot of us, we say charity begins at home. So am I taking care of my staff? Am I making sure that the carpenters and the painters who used to work for me are cared for? You know, I've been an adult in Nigeria for over 20 years. This is the first time in my life that carpenters and painters have texted me, grown men, to say, Ndidi, I need help. And I've basically said, I'm prepaying you for services in future because I know it's tough. So you have that sphere of influence, your staff, your driver, your gate man, how are you making sure that they have masks, and they have soap, and they have what they need? And what about those who you can touch? And my friend Ronke Onadeko has been shouting from the rooftops about the need for us to support a lot of the gig employees in our ecosystem and in our sphere of influence. And then the last thing I would say is shape policy. You know, what this thing has shown me is you can't sit around and wait for other people to shape policy. When they were mapping out restrictions on lockdowns, I had to write them and say, you know, how can we get to the Governors Forum and the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria to make sure they include farmers as essential workers and people in agriculture and food as essential workers? Many people weren't thinking of them as essential workers. They had simply ignored them. and being able to shape policy. And when I learn about something that's been done in Morocco, or Egypt, or Kenya, I send it to everybody I know, saying this is what we need to do in this area. We need to change protocols in markets. We need to change protocols in supermarkets. And I think enough of us are don't think we have the power or the voice to change policy. And I think we have to make sure that at this time when our country needs it the most, that we're stepping up and leading and sharing and raising alarms where we need to.
That's a really concise answer, and I like how you gave 4 different ways. I hope you're really paying attention and taking down notes. Somebody here has asked, how can we encourage collaboration? It seems to be alien to our ways. And another person here, this is Christ Mark, said, what can students of agriculture or graduates of agriculture do as knowledge workers in a knowledge economy? Do we have an agricultural bank in Nigeria?
All right. So in terms of collaboration, I think we have to dispel the myth that Nigerians cannot collaborate. I think somebody like Dr. Ogunsoya, who's on this call, and Mrs. Amber have shown that you can collaborate in the education sector. And so it really means that we have to focus on a shared vision. What I do is I paint a picture of a bigger pie. If we can see a bigger pie and there's space for all of us to enjoy in that pie. Think about how poor Nigeria is as a nation and how rich it could be. And if it's a richer nation, then all of us can benefit. We can all rise together. I think where you see people struggling to collaborate is where they see a lack instead of plenty, and where they don't see a space for them in a future. So if you can map out that vision, that galvanizes everybody to see that they have a space and that you're not displacing them. And for me, that's critical. So you need to be a vision setter. And if you paint that vision and inspire people, you galvanize a lot of people who join forces with you. In terms of agriculture, I would really encourage this. We just had a Sahel Scholars Conference last week, and we usually go to universities to encourage young people in agriculture as part of our CSV. And we decided now we have COVID, we can't go to 6 universities. Let's actually make it an online conference. And it was phenomenal. I mean, we had 1,800 students register. So I would encourage this young person to please go on the Sahel website. You can download some of the insights from that conference. The focus was on digital and innovation, and how, this is a new sector. When we think about agriculture, we think of hoe and cutlass. Those days are long gone. We need to change our mindset. And so please go on sahelconsult.com, go on nourishingafrica.com, and join up, follow us on Twitter and Instagram, and you'll learn all about the opportunities for you and how this sector is growing. This sector is the next oil. I mean, it should have been, we are naturally endowed for agricultural excellence. This should be the most important part of our economy. And I think right now we're recognizing that. So wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for sharing your time this afternoon with us here, and for the great work that you're doing. I know a lot of people here have been saying a lot of reaffirming statements. Farmers are very essential. We need to have more cooperation and partnerships in Nigeria. Thank you very much. Someone here is taking notes.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
Thank you. My pleasure. All the best. Okay. God bless. Bye.
God bless you too. At this point, let's show some love to Mrs. Uneli, and we'll now bring our final speaker, and that is Miss Mojisola Adegbile. She's the CEO of Tolerway. I really hope that you've been learning something. I'm going to invite her to this session now. I'm going to go live with her, and that is Miss Mojisola Adegbile. I can't see her here. Please, can you just send a message here yes, I can see you now. So I'm going to go live with you. Thank you very much. Yeah, she is the CEO of Tolerway, and if you're into fashion, if you're into clothing, then you would have come across this very high. I really like the aesthetic of the brand, and if you see some of the masks out there, they're in taking our natural fabrics like ashoke and really using them in a very creative way. So welcome to our SWORTE Talks Instagram live session.
Thank you.
So let's go straight into it. I already said Tolaway as a fashion brand is a wave-making fashion brand. But what motivated your company to get involved in charitable donations during COVID-19?
Well, we kept a very close eye on what was happening around the world. We'd actually not very long ago come back from Paris, from the trade shows, where we saw a lot of our raw materials, because in the first place, we are a manufacturing company who are also very creative. My mother is actually the creative director, and then I handle the management side of it. And looking at what was happening to a lot of our partners, we have some partners in Italy, and a lot of news is coming from them firsthand that, this COVID-19 thing is real. I know you're not hearing about it a lot in Africa, but it's very real. And then one of our customers, as it so happened, is a very vulnerable woman, and we got worried about her in Nigeria. She was attending an event, so we made some masks for her to match her outfit that she just purchased from us. And then before we knew it, a week or two later, the gravity of the situation of COVID-19 really hit Nigeria, and we realized that the production of our everyday clothes, our kaftans, it just wasn't what mattered then. What mattered really was ensuring that, one, we kept our staff employed, and two, we provided something that was essential at that day and age. This was in March, and that was these masks. So we put everything else on hold. We stopped producing all of our camisoles, our dresses, everything, and then just reassigned everyone to mask production. And that's what we've been doing since then. And we've been just blown away by the supports that we've received, because the masks are not just to keep people safe. We are also using them as a tool to raise money to support disadvantaged communities and women's shelters who are housing even more women than they have usually, abused women whose husbands' frustrations are being let out on them, are finding themselves running away but not knowing where to run away to. So we recognize that they needed our support as well.
Yeah, I love this answer, but because it touched on something our last storyteller spoke about, which is charity begins at home. So you can look at the people that you've employed. How are you making sure that they're still engaged and they still have a source of income coming in, and using fashion to respond to a pandemic, respond to an urgent human need, which is to stay safe. I know you say 20% of the proceeds of every mask goes towards the COVID relief efforts in Nigeria. What has been the response?
I mean, it's been incredible. We went out on the limb. We designed the mask. A lot of thought went into it. I'm a chronic sufferer of respiratory issues. I have asthma. So the reality and the gravity of being infected with COVID-19 really hit home. So we were quick with the design that we came out with. Our design is actually 3 layers thick, which means that pretty much hardly anything can get through it. It's not 1 layer, it's not 2 layers, it's 3 layers with a pocket to ensure a place to put in additional filters, because safety is everything right now. And I've forgotten the start of the question. Sorry.
The impact and the response that you've been receiving, those communities. You spoke about women that are in abusive relationships, and they need to still get an income, and helping them out.
Yes. So as I said, so the first community that we supported was a community of 140 families, a place called Shibiri on the outskirts of Lagos. And we found out that Lagos state government had visited them, but unfortunately the resources that were given to the community were hugely insufficient. They're only enough to feed 1 or 2 families for a week. So we heard their cries, and we decided, okay, this is going to be the first place that we're going to touch. So we went there. We partnered with a foundation called Isodocon Foundation, which is an incredible initiative that's been up and running since 2015. Since our expertise is manufacturing and making pretty clothes to make people feel special about themselves, it's not going down to the grassroots and donating food. So we made sure that we found out that we found a foundation that we could partner with who could do the work for us. We give them the money and they do all the legwork. So Shibiri on the outskirts of Lagos they're suffering greatly from starvation in the community. So we donated 2 weeks worth of food to them. A week later, we went to 3 women's shelters that housed in total about 50 women and about 20 children between all the different charities, between all the different shelters. And these shelters are off the beaten path. Even finding them in the first place was incredibly difficult because a lot of these women are running away from very abusive partners. Some of them want to kill their partners. So what we found out was that these shelters are hidden. You can't find them unless you know the address. You will not be able to enter them. So what we've now done is that we've taken note of this network of halfway houses, and we're going to be doing our best to support them even post COVID-19, because this is a real reality that is faced on ground in Nigeria, these women in these issues. I saw somebody was asking about what our masks look like.
Yes, what they look like.
No, the normal.
Someone also spoke. Dr. Gunsoya says, important that you didn't cut costs and put safety as priority by ensuring your masks had 3 layers.
Exactly.
Safety is at the heart of it. It's not just pretty looking, but it's actually safe.
Exactly. Because this is something that has worried us in our company. We're happy that designers and other manufacturing outfits have heeded the call to do their bit and aid in the production of face masks. But as a result, we're also seeing a lot of irresponsible practices coming out. We're seeing masks that really have no business being out there because the wearer is not protecting themselves and not protecting the person around them. We're seeing people cutting costs, and we keep reminding everyone, if you're going to do this, please, please, please do this responsibly. Otherwise, you're just going to make the problem even worse than it actually is. The super spreaders who are asymptomatic and who are wearing these masks thinking that, oh, okay, well, I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing, they'll still be spreading COVID-19 around, and that just beats the point entirely.
So you wanted to show them the masks?
Yes, this is one of our masks. So the way we designed it is that it opens up like this, so it fits most people, and then each one has four of these, so you can choose to tie it behind your ears, or you can tie it behind your back according to your preference. Then here you can see the 3 layers of fabric. So there's one outer layer, an inner layer of tightly woven cotton, and then a layer, this is the layer that comes against your mouth. It's a very soft cotton jersey that we actually use in our lingerie making. And it's hypoallergenic, so no matter how sensitive your skin is, you're going to be absolutely fine. And then you can see the pockets here where, if you would like, you can put a filter. So a lot of research is showing that kitchen paper works quite well, or you can put a disposable mask there as well. Whatever you want to, even put in a sock just to thicken it out a little bit. But all of our masks have this filter just because of safety, because safety first, not fashion.
Yes, I think that answers the question of someone who asked what the materials are made of, because you spoke about the cotton jersey. And I know I've been on the website, I've seen some ashoke, which is like an ode to our culture here in southwestern Nigeria. There's another mask that is being displayed.
This is ashoke.
Great. And then I can see a comment here, Uluatobi Okonofua. I like that you adapted quickly in the face of daunting challenges. And there was something you said, again, from our last speaker, I can piggyback off, is collaboration. You're good at manufacturing, not necessarily charity donations or doing charity work, but you've partnered with an organization that's been in existence for 5 years, and that's been able to stretch your power in terms of doing good even further because they have the expertise. So it's great to see brands like yours collaborating. We can see Abel's word saying, I like that, safety first and not fashion. Thank you for all the feedback. And I think finally, what ways can we as individuals really contribute to this initiative, as well as do good in our society, knowing that COVID-19 is still going to be around for a while, and we'll have to just deal with the challenges that they present?
I mean, I guess you first have to look at yourselves and your family, ensure that you and those around you are secure, whether it is financially, job-wise, whatever it is that you need. Put yourself first. Once you are sure about yourself, you can now go and help your neighbor. as they say on flights, put your mask on first before you help the child next to you. Then once you have done that, you can go start looking around, shopping around for organizations who are doing the needful, who have proven themselves, have a good track record, that the money is actually going to go very far. Because the reality on ground, and this is a reality that we all must face, is that some people are taking advantage of the current situation. So you need to be very, very prudent as to how you use the resources you're limited to. But most importantly, and I'm quite happy because this trend was growing before the pandemic hit, is we have to start thinking local. Our economy is incredibly weak right now. And this has further emphasized how weak our economy is, with the oil price crashing and the devaluation of the naira, and now this pandemic stretching our already very, very tight resources. We need to start looking inwards for a long-term and medium-term solution towards how can we generate income. So support your local tailors, support your local designers. Also start thinking about sustainability. The other reason we made these masks, it wasn't just about safety. It was about recognizing that, you know what, this disposable mask trend is not sustainable. CNN recently published this article that the world now has a new problem that it's being faced with and that nobody's talking about. And that is the huge influx of plastic pollution into the environment right now. All these hazmat suits, the disposable masks, the N95 masks, all of that is going to one place, and that is the trash pile. And a lot of governments who are already putting processes in place of stopping the use of plastic are now having to rethink, okay, how are we going to balance this? Because obviously these masks are made from plastic. That's why we also thought of these reusable masks. I mean, there are so many issues that we have at hand right now. We need to use this time to reflect and think about how can we sustain this situation that we're in for the medium to long term, because there are problems on all sides and we're just trying to quench fires all over the place when really we should be looking for, we're trying to quench fires everywhere. So we need to look for the most effective way to do that in our own industries.
Thank you very much for sharing this afternoon with us. I know we've learned a lot. I can still see some questions, but unfortunately we're having to bring the session to an end. You know, it's only 1 hour allowed here on Instagram Live. So please let's make our last guest, our last storyteller, Ms. Mojisola Adegbile. She's the CEO of Tolaway. Feel really welcome and let's appreciate her. I want us to see some emojis going, some heart signs. Thank you very much. And well done to you and your mom, who you mentioned is the creative director, in using fashion to respond to this pandemic and putting lives first, and also keeping your employees gainfully employed. So at this point, I want to say a big thank you to
someone just asked where we can get our masks. Just go over to our Instagram page and you can send us a DM, or you can go to our website, which is also mentioned on our Instagram page. I will share it right now, and or even just pop over a phone call, and you can get our masks that way. Yeah, sorry to interrupt.
No, that's fine. That's essential. I didn't see that question. So a big thank you to everyone for the questions. Thank you to our storytellers. Please let's make all of them feel very welcome. Let's have the heart signs, the emoticons. Let's appreciate them for spending this afternoon with us. Remember that here at SWORTE Talks, our mission is to inform, inspire, and influence through the words of speakers and storytellers. And please check us out on our social media platforms. We'll be putting out details of our upcoming SWORTE Talks, the first ever online edition. SWORTE Talks is already five in September. So we're in our 5th year, but we'll be clocking 5 exactly in September. So this is our first time that we're going to be going online. So we want you to be a part of our first ever online edition. So come to our social media platforms, get all the details, make sure you register. For those of you who joined us late, well, you've missed, but not to worry, we'll be sharing this Instagram Live interviews. We'll be sharing it on our story, so you can check that out. And want to say a big thank you to the SWORT Talks team for putting this together. And we hope to see you next week, Sunday. And yes, let's remember to stay safe. Let's remain positive and continue to show our kindness and charity to the people around us as we stay safe during this pandemic. And I really believe it, with God on our side and us coming together as one, we will make it. My name is Isabella Akinshere, and it's been my pleasure on behalf of the SWORT Talks team hosting you this afternoon. Goodbye. Thank you very much.